Okay, so this is our last video session, session 5. And the topics today is the importance of joy in family life, one of my favorite subjects, thinking about shared joy in attachment relationships. And what a lovely subject to finish on when we've done our 10 sessions together and you're moving on to the next level. Okay, shared joy and sense of self. Okay, this is a quote from Dr. Stanley Greenspan, who founded the DIRFloortime model. A child's sense of self, their ability to really make sense of themselves, is tied in with shared joy and bliss. So when we have a child who has big feelings of joy and wonder and love, it has a really significant impact on their sense of self. The child's most intense feelings are reserved for those people who love them, and that's parents and carers and siblings and grandparents and babysitters and childminders, those really significant people around that child. They take in the emotion that you share with them, they feel it glowing inside them, and they share it right back when they're able to. Connecting through shared joy in attachment relationships provides the groundwork for experiencing big feelings with their caregivers. And what we know is that children in these early stages of engagement and understanding those feelings within them, they need to learn how to kind of regulate. This little guy here in the picture looks really happy but not overly stimulated. Some of your children will feel these surges of big feelings together with you, and you can soothe them and help them manage them. And preparation then for other big feelings that might come later, as far as anger or frustration, sadness or impatience. Those other feelings may be harder to learn how to regulate, but if you've learned how to regulate through big feelings of excitement and joy, then having that focal point to come back to is a really helpful practice run. Okay, so this is a quote from Helen Edgar from autisticrealms.com. She's autistic, and she's talking about her experience within herself and people who she knows. And obviously not all your children have a diagnosis or would be moving on that pathway. But I think it's a nice quote anyway. When we are surrounded by people who accept and support our needs, and we know that your children have varying needs, we can experience and also express our moments of joy without fear of judgment. Some of your children will feel joy when they stimulate themselves by running around, jumping or moving their bodies in certain ways, or carrying out activities which other people may not understand why they love it so much, but for them it is a very joyful thing. So when they can experience that without judgment or fear, then it's really helpful for them to kind of be in connection with you at that time, because you're sharing with them, I'm loving what you're doing. And whatever you're doing that you're feeling this positive experience in is helping me also feel a positive experience with you in this moment. So when we share these moments of joys with others, it can deepen our connections further, engaging in a collective flow state where attention, focus, sensory needs, and emotion align. And it allows us to create glimmers together. Okay, so these lovely bubbles of brightness, enhancing our friendships and enriching our sense of belonging. These shared flow experiences create meaningful bonds. Again, back to attachment. Again, another one of my favorite subjects, where we are not just witnessing glimmers in isolation, but amplifying and expanding each other's joys. So you know how when we get a buzz of excitement or joy within us, when we're doing that in connection with other people, it adds meaning to it as well and maybe amplifies the feelings. Sharing your glimmers with others who get it helps to build a community of mutual care where the smallest moments of connection have the power to sustain us and strengthen our community. We're thinking about quite small children. She's an adult thinking about these experiences that she has. But it's really helpful to think about it now and how your child grows up to experience their positive feelings with others around a raft of activities and experiences that they find positive and joyful. Okay, this is a piece of research done by Elliot Wassell, and when I looked up Elliot Wassell online, it says Elliot Wassell gets autistic joy from doing research into autistic joy. So you will see research coming out about this term autistic joy, and again, not all of your children have that diagnosis, but I think it's still helpful to consider young children's experience of joy within themselves as part of this as well. So they did a questionnaire of adults and looking at their experience of joy from their perspectives. Key participant themes were that autism can be a source of joy, that the right circumstances must be created for joy, and that barriers principally relate to other people rather than autism themselves, in that other people may not understand their joyful moments, may get in the way of their joyful moments, may not help that child or adult explore their joyful moments, and so may dampen down the beautiful feelings that they're having at that time. A wide range of enjoyable activities were identified in this study, but also great differences between individuals. And we talk about individual differences, don't we? We talk about each person having their own sensory systems and their own biological systems and their own family history that will lead them on this pathway to their own unique ways of feeling about things. And if we notice that and embrace that, then we can support our children to feel enhanced joy with us in connection. Recommendations from this research project include building autistic joy into educational support solutions. In that if a child or even if your child has a different way of showing their joyfulness, then we want the community around them to embrace that, even if that way of showing their joyfulness might look different to other people's. If it's joyful for them, we want the community around them to embrace that. Greater acceptance by society of the ways autistic people want to enjoy themselves, such as being able to enjoy treasured interests without being judged by other people, is really recommended. Okay. And then we're thinking about the importance of joy in attachment relationships. We really want to support shared joy within the DIRFloortime parent coaching model. Shared joy is a significantly important piece when we're thinking about children learning to engage with their trusted adults, their parents, their caregivers, their nursery staff, to have these positive feelings of connection. It's really important for bonding, through well-being, and hopefully also to urge them to communicate and engage with you for longer as well. So from the developmental point of view, when we look at this kind of developmental pathway from being regulated, emotionally connected, and want to share ourselves with other people, this is a really powerful way that shared joy can help your child on their journey through that process. When we're thinking about the I part, the individual differences part, we want to understand what kinds of areas your child finds joyful. What are their interests? What are their experiences that they can be joyful around? And what might be their individual barriers, so that parents can adapt how they parent and adapt how they play with their child to enhance those joyful moments together. We know as well that shared joy is a fantastic opportunity to deepen relationships, and also within those moments supports your child's developmental growth. And this is where the model is so different from an educational model, which is about tasks and activities. This is about emotion and feelings of togetherness with you, that helps your relationship, helps their progress developmentally, and ultimately supports their sense of well-being and mental health going forwards as well. And the floor time piece, when you play with your child, when you delight in what they're doing, which I'll talk about in a minute, and those actions that you carry out to support this relationship piece, we do that in our floor time play with an emphasis of joyfulness together. Okay, so how do you connect through joy? Let's have a little look. You'll know this already. Think back on those wonderful moments you've already had with your child. Enhance those. You return to them. Enjoy them yourself. I know that life is busy, people lack time. There's all sorts of worries in your head, and sometimes they can be blocks as well for you, which we'll talk about in a minute too. But we really want children to have a felt sense of safety. When we feel safe, then there's an opportunity for those positive emotions to be experienced. So we want to send cues of safety to your child, which is really about you showing them that you're with them, that you're noticing them, that you're relaxed and comfortable, and that there are no worries around them within the environment. The child feels safe and protected in these moments with you. Sometimes it also involves not interfering. And oftentimes parents will bring this up, or carers will bring this up, if they're doing something amazing, should I just kind of get involved? That might well interrupt them. And so there are times when we might sit at the side and delight in what they're doing without inserting ourselves into the action. That's a judgment call for you. We really want them to enjoy undisturbed time in these activities that enhance their well-being. And oftentimes that does involve you. But if they're already getting on with something they're loving, then you can be near them and delight in it and share that delight with them, which we'll be talking about in a second as well. So you don't always need to interfere or insert yourself. Don't overload their nervous system. Okay, again, when they're experiencing something fantastic that they're focused on, if you start talking a lot, they have to process a lot. If you give lots more stimulation, whether it's sound or movement or visual stimulation, that might also reduce down their ability to focus in this joyful moment that they're having. And again, as part of this package of the felt sense of safety, then we also want to reduce the environmental stressors. And so when as we talked last time about your child's individual profile from a sensory perspective, then it may well be making sure that there's not too much noise in the environment, or not too much bright lights or busy backgrounds, visually distressing things going on for them. So just make sure that you've kind of adapted things around them, that their nervous system can feel as safe as it can in the moment. Okay, wait, watch and wonder. At that kind of be near them, be amazed, sit back and enjoy. If it's not the right time for you to get involved, allow yourself that time to take in and feel what your child may be experiencing and connect emotionally. They will sense from you your acceptance. They will feel your love and shared joy from you. And if you can sit and watch and delight, then it gives you time then to see whether the child is open for you to get involved or not. Very often they'll want you over. They'll come to you. They'll show you their favorite sparkly thing that they're just adoring at the moment. And that's great. You're sending cues to them all the time that what they're doing is cool, that you're also feeling joy in this moment with them. And we often do as adults, when we're watching a child just be in a state of bliss, we can't help but smile and share that love and feeling towards them at the same time. Be amazed. When children are doing something really cool that they're loving, like this child is bouncing on the bed in a really cool way. And we talk about being amazed in previous sessions as well. Sharing that positive regard to a child and wonder, again, is a really strong message to a child. It is really cool what you're doing. I can understand why it's giving you such a buzz in the moment. Share that affect with them, that emotion with them. That positivity with them that will enhance their willingness and keenness to share their joy with you. Make sure that when you're sending those cues of being amazed, that you use your facial expression, that you use your tone of voice. You maybe use body gestures. Wow. And then you maybe bend over nearer to show that you're really fascinated by what they're doing. All of those things will help the child take you in more, in a way that they know you're not going to interfere and spoil the fun. That you're only going to enhance it instead. So maybe the child will want to show off to you. They're doing some spinning, or they've got something sparkly, or they've done a painting, or whatever it is that they're feeling proud and joyful about. Then hopefully, if they see you at the side, they'll kind of want you to respond. Lots of your children really want your admiration, and you're giving it for free in this moment. So that will be really helpful for them. And I think when you are just sitting there, you may think, oh, I'm not really doing very much, but you're really sending a strong message to them that you are connecting with them. Lots of our children find that so hard. And so if you're showing through your affect, through your emotional input, through the way you're looking towards them, you're sharing that you see them and you feel them, that you respect what they're doing and that you're delighting them. And your children need that. We all do. We all do, of course we do. But especially your children when they're so young, figuring out themselves in the world. Your messages are going to be the most important because you're their attachment figures. Encourage their joyful activities. And I love this picture here of the bubbles. Lots of your children absolutely love bubbles. They know about popping them. They love the way that they shine in the light. So provide them with the kinds of things that you know that are going to be really enjoyable for them. And please don't spend too much money. It's more about noticing the things that can be readily available, like bubbles, like aluminium foil, like puddles, or basins of water that they can splash in, times in the bath when they're really happy as well. Help them to expand their special interest. If they've got a love of collecting things, that's great. They're feeling love for it. It's something they really enjoy. Enable them to do that. And also if you can get into it too, even better. You can both become collectors. You can both be fascinated with it, and obviously then decide whether there's a limit to it or not. My son, when he was little, as a lot of little boys do, he liked collecting sticks, and he wasn't really overly counting how many he had. He just knew that a lot was a good pile. So think about what's the upper limit of what you can store. But don't spend too much money because that's going to be a stressor as well. So helping build special collections, maybe be the giver of the sticks for a child who loves sticks, maybe be the provider of the bubbles so that they see you as somebody who has a wealth of interests as well and an abundance of brilliance. Those are really strong messages too. And equally, if your child has a special interest and they're very young, but maybe as they're growing older, in something that you can form a community around, even more wonderful. If they love climbing, or if they love collecting, I don't know, I have children who love collecting Pokemon cards, and then they went to swap shops, and so then suddenly there was a community of children who were very similar that they could delight together and be enthusiastic together about too. That could be really helpful socially for your children. Don't overly add to their excitement. Yeah, so if a child is feeling joy, maybe they've got some sparkly stuff, maybe they're doing some movement and they're really feeling positive. Sometimes our children can then tip over into have feeling less control. And again, that can be fine briefly, but there may be a stage when your child becomes overwhelmed and starts to melt down because it feels too chaotic. So don't add to the excitement. Be a steady person. That as they become really hyped and excited, you're just there as a steadying anchor to it, and maybe help them kind of stay with you whilst you delight, but you don't go whirligig. See the difference? And I already said it's really important that children learn to manage big feelings with you as that steadying piece in preparation for the range of big feelings that they'll experience across their lifetime, including some of the negative ones. Okay. However, it's really, really vital, and I love this picture as well. Under a tree, you have your shelter, you have your protection. What's going to support you to also meet your child's needs? So whilst you're supporting the child in shared joy, we also know that might be hard for you if you are overwhelmed, if you are exhausted, if you've got nothing left in your cup to share with your child. So think about how you can get your needs met. And we talk about this all the way through the course, don't we? Each member of staff at Allsorts is really looking out for you in your mental well-being, because we know that you, whilst you're parenting your child, if you're in better health yourself and better mental health yourself, you can do a better job in supporting your child too. So think about also, so alongside what helps you in your mental state, what can you both enjoy together? You may have a child who absolutely adores rough and tumble play, but actually if you have a bad back and you can't run around, or you have asthma attack or something, maybe that's not the activity, but what can bring you joy that you can share, because your child will probably delight in those too, because they feel that joy from you. So think about what brings you joy, that makes it easier for you to share joy with your child as well. And think, we talk about the D, the I, the R of your child, but when we're thinking about the I, the individual differences, we're also thinking about you and your own individual profile. If your child is super joyful and incredibly loud with that, and maybe using sound tones that are aversive for your hearing, then we want to bear that in mind. How much do you have support around your sensory needs? What kind of other stresses are involved for you that mean it's harder for you to connect through joy? Maybe financial stresses, that's a really common one with young parents. All of these areas are worth being aware of to see what we can do in discussion to support those aspects, so you can provide a source of joy or delight in your child's joy, and in a family broader perspective, family joy as well. Okay. And we're moving into the last couple of slides now. There may be barriers that there are within your family that stops you and your child sharing that joy together. It may well be, for example, that there may be aspects or relationships that are having a negative impact on you and your child. Is there a family member that's making you feel self-conscious as a parent, for example, that's impacting your relationship with your child, or something going on in the community that's also making you feel is impacting on your child? See if you can think about how you work around that to support you and your child to be more comfortable and relaxed together. Think about societal pressures. So many parents, when they take their children to the park and have a fab, joyful time, but maybe there are people, in certain situations and who are a little bit judgmental, that make you feel worried or inhibited in certain moments as well. Think about emotional burdens which are outside your relationship with your child, that maybe are getting in the way, are a barrier to you really enjoying each other as well. Okay, and even if you have those feelings through the week and it's really hard for you to shift them, see if even in those moments where your child is sharing joy with you, that you can just let them go briefly, so you experience that shared joy together. Okay, and you might find this an unusual one to have at the end, but I'm a qualified nutritional therapist, so I always think about brain function and neurotransmitters, and you will have heard of certain neurotransmitters that help you feel happy and joyful. So dopamine, serotonin, those are very positive neurotransmitters. Noradrenaline is another one that it's tied in with a sense of joy. And then something called endorphins. These are our positive hormones as well, that are released when we feel joy. But actually, in order to feel these, we need protein, interestingly, and vitamins and minerals, essential fats. All of these things help make the chemicals that support our brain and our bodies to function and feel more upbeat and joyful. So please remember that our bodies need nourishment as well to feel positive, and the research is definitely coming through about supporting neurotransmitters in that respect as well. And most importantly, have fun. Yeah. I wish you all the best in your evolving journey with your little ones. It's been such a pleasure being with you through this series of sessions, and good luck with it all. Bye-bye.